Okay, we're back, and today we're going to be working on our camera controls. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our, you know what? Go to our assets, go to create a new folder, and name it scripts. Scripts. Okay. See, okay, we're going to drag our player folder onto scripts. Okay, open up our scripts folder. We'll let it compile. Open up our scripts folder, go to player, and go to right click and add a new folder and call it camera. In our camera folder, we're going to create a new C# script and we're going to name it camera controls. Camera controls. Okay. We're going to go to our player camera and drag camera controls onto our player camera and save the scene. Make sure it's there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is double click on player camera and open it up inside of your scripting editor. Okay, we're going to clean the script up a little bit, and the first thing we're going to do is get a reference to our position. So we're going to go private transform, my transform. Okay, create our start function, and in our start function we're going to assign my transform to transform. Okay, so now we have a object name transform, name my transform, transform name my transform. We assigned it to our transform. So once the game starts, or once this is instantiated, we're going to want our camera to jump to the back of our player so it will be looking at the player. So we're going to do transform dot position is equal to a new vector3, and the first thing we're going to do is create some more variables, and the first one is going to be public float, no, integer. Public, should it be a float? Yes, we'll make it a float. Public float distance, public float height, GHT. Okay, so we'll go to make one more and go put it right under our first variable and go to public transform player. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is assign player. So we're going to do if player is equal to null. The first thing we're going to do is set player equal to game object dot find capital G, game object dot find one second, game object dot find, and the name of it will be player. Okay, so we'll go to the next line and we're going to say else. So that means, well, we don't need an else, do we? No, we don't need an else. Okay, so in our new vector3 we're going to do player dot position dot x. Okay, well, can we just do dot x? Dot x, nope, dot position dot x. The next one we're going to do is player dot position dot y plus the height. And last we're going to do player dot position dot z minus the distance. And when we start our game, the camera should jump to the back of the player. But the last thing we're going to do is we'll just do it later. So we'll save it off, go back to our scene, press play, let it give us an error. Okay, 1725 dot transform. Okay, so it should give us no more errors. Let it compile, press play, and as we can see, the player camera should be inside the player. Yes, it is, because we haven't set the variables. So the distance will be 10 and the height will be 6.5. We should press play and it should jump to the back of our camera. Okay, as you can see, well, for instance, if we move the camera all the way over there and press play, it should jump to the back of the camera. Back of the player, as you can see. So what we're going to do is save the scene, go back into our, first we're going to zero all this out, go back into our script, and if you notice, the camera was looking at the player, but that was because we set it to look at the player in the inspector. But if we, for instance, move the player around and make a jump or something, it would just not look at the player correctly. So we're going to do my transform dot look at. We're just going to look at the player. Okay, that should do. So if we go to play, as you can see, we zeroed out everything on the player camera. It should look at the player, as you can see. So that concludes this episode. So we're going to save our scene, apply the changes to our prefabs. Okay, so that concludes this episode, and I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you come back to the next episode where we will discuss making the camera move. So have a great day.